This week on RSBANDB Update, the impending removal of DailyScape rips off the Band-Aid. Does removing dailies fix long-standing issues, or do more issues appear? Early game rebalancing answers some of these questions. We also finally look at the combat beta. This is RSBANDB Update, episode 1076, recorded Thursday, February 12th, 2026. Back to basics. Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of RSBANDB Update. This week we have the topic that's been burning a hole in everybody's pocket, the impending litany of dailies that are being removed or adjusted from the game, plus an early game rebalance, and a discussion on combat. We got the panel for that. Tanis, welcome.
Thank you, Shane. I'm excited to be here. You know, is this fire going to make RuneScape rise like the Phoenix, or we're just going to burn this shit down? We're about to find out.
Because you said no controversial stuff this year for you.
And yet, here I am.
Because something needs to be said, right?
Yes. Absolutely.
Right on, right on. Also joining us again is Lemon. Welcome back. You're here because we didn't get to discuss combat last week, and you also wanted to discuss daily, so it made sense to have you still here. Welcome back,
lots
Lemon.
of stuff going on right now. So
Rank 60th Iron person in the world. And, of course, Bear's here for the combat portion of the show, but also some dailies and XP rebalancing as well. Bears does combat-y things. Welcome back, Bears.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
What are you most looking forward to ripping the Band-Aid off of this week?
I'm super amped to talk about the beta. I gotta do a good amount of playtesting in the last hour before the show, and it kind of changed how I felt. So I'm into it. I'm excited.
Perfect. Well, listeners, you guys are probably here for this too, so before we get too far down the road, just a big, huge thank you to our experienced tier Patreon members. Without you guys, this show would not be possible. This week, that includes Amos Reed, Bladecom, Dominic Carr, Jade Gizmo, Jason S., Jesse W., Julia W., Kesky, Lemon Lodge, Luminos, Ricky A., Oasis, Snail Mage, The Naked Captain, and Tim. You'll hear more about our Patreon offerings a little bit later in the show, but in the meantime, if you want to follow along, full show notes can be found over at update.show. We also have a friends chatting game that you can find at BitsBytes, and the Discord is over at update.show/Discord. So we decided we're going to start with the DailyScape changes and just rip that Band-Aid right off. Rip it off. So, okay. You know, Tanis, I gotta go to you for this here, because they say DailyScape content becomes a chore. It causes time pressure when playing, and the rewards from dailies are powerful and can add up, advancing players through levels much faster than core content and faster than they'd like. Rip that Band-Aid off. What does that tell you?
It tells me they've gotten better with their messaging. And everything that they're saying, like, makes sense. What they're going to find out is everyone wanted to rip these Band-Aids off until it was on their ouchie. And now it's on their ouchie and they're not so sure about that Band-Aid. But just like if you break a bone and you don't get to the hospital in time and it starts to heal, what do they have to do? They got to cut off those bandages.
And
they got to re-break the bone.
Get crooked limbs.
Well, no, they re-break it, Shane, and then they take out those pieces, and that's what's going on here. But everybody, it's got some skin in this game, you know. But what I think it's going to reveal is these glaring design flaws that lie within the skills or whatever these dailies were trying to cover up. Every one of these dailies is a bandage.
Exactly.
So what are they covering up? And so far, they're communicating the right things. We have to see how it's carried out.
Yeah.
Um, but at the end of the day, this is what people voted for,
Without
and
being
this
told they
wasn't.
were voting for it.
Mm,
That's true.
maybe so. Yeah, they should have known.
I knew.
I told them. We told them. I said when they did the experiments and they compiled the data in together, told them what was going to happen.
Yeah, that DXP
Like
one was revealing.
all this stuff could revitalize the game. It really could, but there's going to be some casualties along the way, man. That's
Yeah,
just
and,
how
and
it
we'll get
is.
into those. We'll get into those. Bears, what's your take on this? I haven't talked to you about this yet.
I think it's interesting. I think there's a fine line that they like. I'm just gonna, as an example, daily challenges. Like that one feels interesting to me because in my mind, the point of it was always for the parent who works 10 hours a day. Then they come home, they feed their kids, they take care of their kids, and they get an hour to play before bedtime, right? Like it was a very clear path of what to do. Like, okay, I'm going to knock out my daily challenges. Those are giving me a good amount of XP. And like it feels like they can progress more in that hour than if they were not doing daily challenges in 2 hours, right? But then there's also the other end of it where you get down to your last two or three abilities or skills before you max, and you just put all three daily challenges into agility, which a lot of people leave that for
Or
last.
Dungeoneering
And
or Herblore.
yes, those are actually two of my three. I still have to max on the GIM. So, um, and like you still play the game for 5 hours, and then but you only spend 10 minutes doing agility to get a large lamp for it, and that part of it feels too overpowered. But then the other end is the parent who it feels like they need to do that to progress. So I don't know where the line is. I think they will find some balance. I'm not too worried about it.
Yeah,
But
and the thing is, we can't answer
that's my
that.
thought.
We can't answer that later game part yet until we know what the mid game and end game rebalancing look like this summer and later this year, respectively. What about you, Lemon? Being primary iron and a min max.
This is a good first step. There are a lot of things that aren't on this list. And one of them is the number 3 problematic daily in my book, which is penguins.
That's a good point.
I hear you saying, I know you're out there, you're in the comments. I hear you saying, oh, but penguins are a weekly. It's all DailyScape, right? It doesn't matter if we're talking weekly, monthly, daily,
absurd.
hourly.
It is absurd how much they give.
It is, and it's all within this auspice of DailyScape. It's a good first step. I love what I see. There are some things that I wish we could do differently, which I know we can't because of time constraints. But if we're at 95% of the way to what I would like to see on these items, then I can't complain.
Okay. And I want to go back to the post and what they said. They said, in short, DailyScape is a term that describes game content outside of a skill's core identity that is often perceived as mandatory by players due to time-gated mechanics and the disproportionately high reward for offering little time investment. And my point to this is that I have told people going back to 2015 and beyond who have quit because there are too many dailies. Don't do them. Don't burn yourself out. There is nothing that compels you to do them on one side of the coin. But on the other side of the coin, if you have a situation where divine caches are the primary method of trading a skill, then we have a problem. So,
but the problem, like I want to speak to both like Barry's and Lemon's point. The problem was the divine cache, the sinkhole, whatever these dailies are, they were band-aids for the parent. They were band-aids put in for the person that like has aged through this game like I have, through the with kids and the whole shebang. So I mean, I get that. At the same time, they were pretty specific when they're like, yeah, we're not touching weeklies, we're not touching anything beyond this, which makes me think
Look at Troll Invasion.
they don't, right. Like I don't think they care about the big chunk of XP like you're going to get from Invasion. I think they're worried about that FOMO that people feel. And you know me, I've been preaching as long as I've been playing, like do what you want to do, man. Because if the game becomes a chore, then what we doing? What are you doing? Like
It's the same reason everybody takes breaks after leagues.
yeah, but
So
I mean that's fun. I mean,
yeah.
you know, you go hard, you take a little break. Yeah.
I'm sure Lemon probably agrees. But like to your point of like don't do dailies, like as someone who is my group Ironman, we have an FSOA as a team, and we still struggle to keep up with the water runes for it, just because like we go through so many, and like we're all doing a shop run. We all try to do one set of the runic tuner a day, and like every seventh one we go to the water altar. Like we are optimizing our water runes, and we are still running out. So like, and again, that it is a band-aid for like there needs to be better ways to get water runes, I guess, or the FSOA can't be using all of them. I don't like so.
Yeah.
Well, they're going to get rid of Rune Goldberg. So
yeah, they'll save some.
They'll save a little. They'll save a few here. And
So
there,
let's then just get into what's being removed then, because first on the chopping block, daily challenges gone completely. We believe the game shouldn't be played this way. Players should instead level up through organic gameplay.
Yep. I will just once again state for the record, as this is a drum that I will beat until everybody has forgotten that these were once a thing. You're looking at about 84 million XP per year off of daily challenges. I think.
Wait, how do you get that number?
No, a disciplined person is looking at 84 million.
So that assumes that you're putting it all into one skill, and that you are. I apologize. I don't remember off the top of my head if this is assuming 99 or if this is assuming a 120. I believe this is assuming a 99. Assumes that you're extending all of your daily challenges and you've got all three of them plugged into a specific skill. I mean, the number is the same regardless of if you're spreading it around. But...
Right. So yeah, 42
that's
then
a lot.
if you don't extend. But I mean, hey, with that, I mean it's just becomes then just so easy to finish off skills. Like
that when you consider the fact that you're already going to be 13 million XP if you're at level 99, and you're going to get an amount of experience training, doing the daily challenges, you're basically getting a free 120 every year.
I should have done that. I should have done that for Slayer back in the day. And I feel like, and I have to mention this because I go back to the dreaded H word hero pass on this.
No, this is good. Yeah, go ahead.
This set people off last time.
It was in there.
This was the beginning of the whole hero pass debacle, in my view.
You can't charge people money though and take things away at the same time. Like that's kind of the worst of both.
I don't know. That seems like good business.
Yeah,
let's make them mad and make them pay for it.
Here's the thing: are they going to actually follow through on this? Because I have seen people be greatly passionate since this post came out about dailies. and have some way.
What do you mean by follow through?
Are they actually going to remove them?
Oh
I
yeah,
think
of course.
so.
Yeah, so
They can't not. They can't not.
So I think
Everything they're doing falls apart if they don't remove daily challenges.
But here's the deal with this, and that's the key point. Everything falls apart. Is that the push to keep them in starts somewhere. It organically grows and snowballs to a point that it derails this entire roadmap. So they have to remove them. But I am wondering if there is going to be a groundswell to have them stay in after people realize just what's happening here. Granted, we're a week out now from this post, and I've been keeping light tabs on the subreddit, and there hasn't been a huge groundswell to keep them as of yet, but there have been people that have said that they should stay. But overall, my sense is that the vast majority of the community is on board with this, but I feel like you're playing with fire here.
I think the messaging that they did with this is the big reason why. Like, they acknowledge that, hey, these are band-aids for a bigger core issue. We know that once we rip the band-aid off, it's not going to be perfect, but we also know that we need to follow through and work on the bigger issue. And them saying that is like telling them, hey, this is a two-step process. Step one might suck a little bit, but step two will be helpful and will get you where we need to be. And I think that messaging, like, I don't know, I listen to it. I'm like, okay, I'll go along with it. We'll see what happens, and I'll believe that they'll be able to do it.
Yeah, this is about to show RuneScape warts and all. We're taking away all of the cosmetics, so to say. Like, this is what these skills are, all these band-aids. This is what it is at its core. As for outrage and controversy, for the first time ever, I actually have faith in the RuneScape community. Probably come back and bite me in the ass. It wouldn't be the first time. But I just feel like there's so much outrage fatigue in life, in general, that how many times can you cry wolf? How many times do people follow the Pied Pipers of YouTube? I don't see it happening this time, because I think deep down, and the reason I say this is because anybody that read that post, if you felt like I felt, it felt like the first day of going to a really thought-provoking class when you're in college, and you're sitting there going, and you're getting hot. You're like, I don't like what they're saying at all. But part of you is like, but there might be something to it. And that's what that post was. Like,
yeah,
there are bits that it hurts. You can feel it. But at the same time, this has to happen. Like, I'm not somebody that thinks like we might not survive if this doesn't happen, because you can live on life support for a long time. But if we ever wanted to grow again, if you ever wanted to be that, flagship game,
and I'll say
this
it,
has to happen.
I'll add on one sentence, Tannis. If you ever want to make it easier for old school people to even consider your game, this is where you start.
Yep.
So
after the treasure hunter, this was the most common complaint that I have seen about the game was dailies broadly, daily challenges specifically, and also runes specifically.
No, that's interesting.
We still people if you use, as Bears was saying earlier, if you use mage, you need to be buying runes. And even when you buy runes, you don't really buy that many of them. Nothing fundamentally is changing on that front, because they're not addressing the underlying issue with shops. They're just making it so that the stock accumulates for 7 days, which is an improvement.
Yeah.
I'm sure, Bears, you will be pleased to only have to do shops once a week instead of every day. But there's still the underlying issue there, right? Shop specifically is one of those things where it's, I hope that we have further iterations of this, because really shops as a whole, rune shops as a whole, exist as a band-aid over rune crafting not being a very well designed skill.
Yay. I agree.
Players should
agree.
It should be reasonable and easy for players to rune craft all of the runes that they will need at all levels of the game.
Yeah.
And that's never been the case.
Exactly. Another one biting the bullet and going the way of the dodo is the Wilderness Flash events. We knew this after after leagues.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Leagues was a really big catalyst for a lot of people, I think. Shane, you talked about it. I basically have not done dailies since leagues.
That was a really good play on words with catalyst there. Had to acknowledge
if only it was intentional. I did things in leagues that was not intended, right? I was the first player to hit max XP in leagues. I was playing for more than a week with timers going off on the hour most hours. That's not a fun way to live your life. I don't think most people do that. I don't think more than 0.5% of people do that, but that's still a lot of people who would do something like that.
Yeah.
And Wilderness Flash events were the thing that everybody hated during leagues, right? Because it was just so clear that this is a thing that you really need to do. Need is, again, like a strong word, right? You don't need to do anything. But insofar as you ought to do something, that it was correct to do something, Flash events were that thing.
Yeah. The Dark Onyx Core, Portable Obelisk, and Obelisk Shard will be made available as drops from other Wilderness content. So there you have it. Motherlode Maw and Motherlode Shards, fine. I don't think there's much to say there. Another one that cuts deep, the Traveling Merchant.
Yep.
Surprisingly, this has been the controversial one this week.
Well, it's because everything people use it for is horrible.
Well, it's
content.
their cheese.
Yeah.
It's their cheese, man.
Yeah, it's sort of the ultimate band-aid, right? Because it's like a 20-in-1 cure-all, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is how I did the tail end of Livid Farm. So
Doing anything besides this for Livid Farm is crazy. I don't think I have gotten Disruption Shield on 3 different accounts, and I don't think I've touched Livid Farm once.
Well, there you go. And I do think Livid Farm probably needs some updates to bring it into the current century, or current decade. But it feels like current century.
Century is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, here's the outstanding question with this: is Livid Farm is one of these standout examples. RuneSpan is another one of the standout examples. Can you fix those things, or should you take the things that people want from it and reallocate them to elsewhere and just remove them? Is the game better for Livid Farm existing? I don't have a strong feeling on that, but I it would take it would be a lot more work to repair it rather than to say add the Disruption Shield and some of the spells that you unlocked from like the hard or elite Fremenic Diary, right?
We should have done Livid Farm on our remastering monthly bit. Yeah,
Turn
but
into actual farming.
Ooh. Yeah. Model it after the Tithe Farm on OS. Some people know what that means. Divine Locations. This one was odd because I felt like this was integral to Divination. Thoughts?
It's not integral to Divination, but it's not as important as it once was. But still, this used to be the reset gathering event, right? Like that everybody was there doing their trees or their box traps or whatever.
I guess from that daily perspective, but it felt like it was a key part of divination. So,
Yeah, it kind
I'm
of
not complaining too much. It
was.
just surprised me to see it here.
In categorizing dailies, right? I think there are a couple of important ways to look at it. There's the stuff that's like grossly overpowered, like daily challenges, like wilderness events. There are the things that are chores, again, like wilderness flash events, shops, divine locations. Like divine locations were not overpowered, but they were certainly a chore that a lot of people did.
Sure.
They're
And-
good enough
Okay.
that it was still worth doing.
It
Right.
was
And
worth doing,
like
but it
thinking
wasn't
back-
like, you know.
Thinking back to the early stages of the game, that was one of the side benefits of going for early invention, is having the inventor person produce these, and we benefit off them.
Yeah.
And these are all things too that I remember doing when I was on the road to max, right? Like I was
Mhm.
maxing that stuff out to do hunter because I didn't want to do hunter. Hunter sucks. Like so, you know what I mean? So I'd do my box traps. I'd double it with wax. What have you? Like, yeah, all this stuff. It's gotta show, but I think we're gonna get good fixes out of it. It may take a couple more legs, but we'll probably get good fixes out of it. It's all said and done.
Mini Evil Tree. It'll no longer be able to be spawned using the Nature Sentinel outfit. They cause issues as they offer a large chunk of XP that can be gained in a minute with disproportionately no input. Okay, fine.
Anyone else kick
Sinkholes.
themselves when they didn't realize they weren't doing one of these? Like that one with the evil tree, I was like, I did not know.
I mean, it's
Shit.
like, it's fine.
yeah.
What about sinkholes? I know you used to be a fan of those, Tannis.
I mean, sinkholes are great. The only thing, well, there's a few things. One, dungeoneering is atrocious. It's just atrocious.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
you know, sinkholes were a way that you could
That and the
spread that
hole.
out over a year. I mean, you had to do it every day, but you could deal with not having any friends, right? Like if you didn't have any friends, okay, whatever. I don't have any friends, I don't have any money. The sinkholes were for you, right? The other thing that is kind of, I don't know if it's sad, but it kind of feels sad, is sinkholes had some unique mechanics that some people really hate.
I like
but-
stealing from other players.
Yeah, that I mean, and that's gonna, you know, be a thing in the past, but that was kind of fun sometimes. Just oh, what was the card that just scrambled everything? Oh, I'm
Oh,
such
I
a
love
dick.
playing that
I
one.
would, oh yeah, that
We're horrible
Yes.
people. The Garajo Horde Stalker will no longer give a free Garajo card each day.
Sure.
Okay, fine.
that doesn't even seem that overpowered to
no.
me.
You never got anything good from it, so like, who
Yeah.
cares?
The Rune Goldberg machine, as well as Weezwax, there you go, Mod Stew, are being removed.
I was, it doesn't surprise me that it's pronounced that way because Mod Stew, but also like, that one caught me off guard when it came up in the roadmap video.
Yeah. So the machine will be removed, and you won't be able to get wax anymore. And with the removal of things like daily challenges, divine locations, and the aura overhaul coming later this year, Weezwax will no longer have a real purpose outside of quick teleports, and they're going to be adding a different way to get the quick teleports instead.
Makes sense.
How do we feel about no rune sync? Because that was a tremendous rune sync.
Maybe it was too much of a rune sync if you can't
Right,
keep
Bears?
up with the runes.
Yeah, I think the funniest thing was everyone that I knew who read this was always like, they read it quickly and they're like, what are we going to do about quick teleports? God forbid I have to watch the full animation. So I'm glad they at least thought about that, because that actually is important.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with this going, like, but like they said, everything it's used for is going to go away anyway. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. And then we move on to content that is being adjusted. And I think this is perhaps the area where there's more wiggle room, because when you look at this is where the Gothixian cache launches, or stands rather, which, you know, it's just so nice to actually hear them say this, and that it positions the content as more of a divination training method, and they'll be making tweaks to it to make the gameplay better and more friendly, such as adding a mechanic to distract the automatons. They will no longer be open every hour, and instead will open after depositing a number of memories at a rift. There'll be no daily cap, though players can still stay inside until they reach 100 points each time.
Oh, that's so interesting.
I love it.
Something that I just sort of assumed the first time I read this, and now looking at it again, it doesn't say after you, like, in my head I had envisioned that this is a thing that opens specifically for you based off of how many memories you put in, but it doesn't actually read that way, does it?
No, it's like the overflow thing that happens.
Yeah. So I actually dislike that. This sort of reinforces World 79 as like the only place to do divination, and doing it anywhere else is just throwing, which I don't like. I also don't think it should be segregated off like this. I feel like I would prefer that it would be open at all times and balanced accordingly.
Yeah, I think that would be a better way to go, but then at the same time, this still kind of keeps the idea of keeping it more of like a sporadic thing that happens, not just I'm going to go do divination caches for divination training kind of thing, right?
They're keeping the D&D spirit alive with that, which is fine. I just don't like that the active training method for divination is going to be locked by doing the one other method of divination, which is extremely passive.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
Yeah. Shop stock, we already mentioned that in terms of it expanding weekly. There will be no more Reaper cap. Instead, you'll be able to actually train Slayer via bossing as much as you like. And instead, Reaper points will have a weekly cap. I like this one. This is for me.
Yeah. I'm curious to see if they're going to be changing the balance of this at all in terms of the experience rates to lean into this being a proper Slayer training method.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, especially like I remember starting our games, like we all rushed to be able to get our first Reaper assignment, and then like, let's go kill Giant Mole, and we got like 20 Slayer levels for doing this one Reaper assignment. So probably a little overpowered. But no, this was going to be really nice, because I mean, there are days where you have 4 or 5 hours to play. You can knock out 4 or 5 Reaper assignments, and then the next day you may not play at all. So like, this is a good way of good transition for this. I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
This is really nice for somebody like me as well, who I only do Reapers if I'm already doing a boss and I can get a Reaper of that boss.
Yep.
I'm not just going to go and like, oh, I got a Zilliana task, I guess I'm going to God Wars. It's like,
have fun, Lemon. That. You're killing Raksha today.
Actually do need to kill Raksha, but anyway.
Oh, my condolences.
Oh, I like Raksha.
Okay.
Raksha's good fun.
I don't. Modified headwear, you'll no longer be able to get free daily items from these. These originated from MTX long ago. Fine.
I'm going to miss that 50 coal a day from the smithing outfit.
Miscellanea is your friend. Wicked Hood. This is another one I heard lots of discussion about, including in our community. It'll no longer be able to get the free daily items or gain new teleport charges. And once all teleport charges have been used up, no new ones will be addable, and players will be still able to store the talismans to use the hood as a talisman, and it will be able to teleport to the RC guild.
I did see this one a lot being complained about, and it's just like doing the runic attuner. If you get the soul altar, right, like you don't really want to go run through the abyss. You just do a quick teleport, charge one, runecraft it, and then you're done.
And to be fair, that was my sole runecrafting training method, is that every 2 or 3 front teleports of it would be with the Wicked Hood, and then the final one would be through the wilderness with the skull.
Yeah. So is it the end of the world? No, it's a tiny convenience that people have been using, but I think people will get over it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the biggest ramification for this is going to be for cluers.
Yeah, that too. I did see stuff about that.
This is like one of the there are like a number of things that like maidens take for granted that like irons have to deal with, and like teleports to altars or something that is difficult, that are like assumed as default as part of clue kit and are difficult for irons to maintain, because we can get them, but we can only get them through the runespan points. See previous conversation about traveling merchant.
and that was going to be the other point to this, is that maybe the teleports just need to be made easier to get in some way or another, because I know they come
which they did discuss doing.
Yeah. Which now is a good time to bring up that they had been watching this, specifically when it came to things like the Wicked Hood changes. In this week's news post, they did address the Weezwax and the Wicked Hood teleport changes, in that it was unclear about whether or not you'd be able to use the remaining ones. Amongst other things on that list was Livid Farm and Sacred Clay and Runespan points. Among these, they featured heavily in the discussions to this point, and they're considering what can be done about these, and while not ready to commit to anything, they just wanted to let the players know this week that the thoughts were being taken on board. So there is a back and forth going, and I did want to call that out from the top of the post, because that was a very important thing. Because up to this point, they'd been feeling as though they were trying to execute an almost OSRS-like trajectory on how these rebalancings were done in terms of the comms with the community. And one of the things for that to work and to be done properly is to actually have a back and forth at the earliest possible convenience with the player on that. So that was appreciated, seeing that in the post this week. Anyways, fish flingers, anyone?
A comp rack. I think that's really the main reason people do it, right?
Yeah. Daily caps removed, and the need for entry tickets will be gone. Evil Tree, again, daily cap removed, and allow the buffs to still be obtained after successfully defeating the tree. So you can just do Evil Tree whenever you want, I guess.
Whenever it's up, I think. I think it'll still be sporadic, just like stars in old school, right?
Right.
They're sporadic, but there's no cap on them.
Fair enough. Crystal trees will be tweaked to have up to 30 charges, increasing by 1 each day at reset, and the XP per blossom will be reduced to reflect this change, so you don't need to go and get those every day.
Can I just say I was really surprised by this one. I made a list last year of the 90-odd DailyScape items in the game, and on my list of like the 5 or 6 that I thought were fine was the Crystal Tree Blossom. Because like this is how farming works, except instead of respawning every 24 hours, it just respawns at reset.
Yeah.
I'm not going to complain that they're changing it, but I'm like, I didn't. Anyway.
Red Sandstone and Crystal Sandstone, they'll be removing the cap, which can be mined daily, allowing you to mine indefinitely. The rock's mining stats and XP will be tweaked to reflect the changes, and they want to be cautious of the influx of the items coming into the economy. You know what? You know why this doesn't matter? Is because it still takes time to convert the glass into molten and to blow it. That's the time that you spend more doing this.
Yeah, and also, like, I don't know, the economy will balance itself, right?
Well, and when you some of these are definitely like little knocks to little ways of making money, right? But
Sure.
this, at the end of the day, was just annoying because you couldn't make you couldn't get the amount of stuff that you wanted when you were doing it. Like, because I'm not the like I got to do this every day kind of person. Like I'm just I gotta do what I'm doing until I'm done doing it, and that you couldn't do that with the sandstone, right? Like
Yeah.
every day I gotta get my sandstone.
Yeah. The Phoenix Lair will no longer have a daily cap. They'll be adjusting some XP and drops to reflect the changes. I don't think there's anything controversial here.
Still won't get anyone to do it.
No. Bork? Bork will no longer be repeatable, and players will be able to kill Bork as much as desired. However, the Slayer XP from subsequent kills will be removed, and they'll buff the Slayer XP for the first time kill. And players can continue to kill it for drops. This one again was another one of those ones that raised my eyebrow. So.
Yeah, I guess people are still out here doing Bork. I mean, like,
I guess, yeah. I mean,
for the, I think it's 5 blue charms and 7 crimsons that you get. Okay.
I had to look on the wiki to see what Bork even was.
OS called. They wanted their daily back, so I guess we're.
Yeah, I actually, in talking about this, somebody linked me a video from I think 2008 of somebody killing Bork, and it was a real throwback.
Oh my god! Wow. And then Wizard Cromperty will no longer give daily Pure Essence, and instead it will be weekly and multiplied by 7. So that's
I was surprised
adjusted.
that people cared about this one. People were complaining that this was being changed, and
What?
Pure Essence is not easy to get in the early game, so I guess people are doing it for that reason, but I was very surprised. I personally did not have any issues in the early game with Pure Essence. I think the amount that you get from I always get it wrong. Is it Rune Mysteries or Rune Memories? I think Rune Memories.
The second one. Rune Memories.
The second one, yeah. Because you get Pure Essence in the chest there every level. Yeah. So that I have always found that to be sufficient until you get to the point of unlocking Abyssal Demons. But I guess if you're not big into Slayer or combat, then maybe you might have a larger issue.
Yeah.
So.
All right, and then comes a list of content that they're still exploring, which includes warbands. They're exploring the removal of, looking at removing the daily raid, lockout, and making any adjustments to drops and drop rates where necessary. That one could be scary. Serenity Post, looking at removing the daily cap and making minor tweaks to turn it into a skilling method. That would be good.
Perfect. Lower intensity agility method, lock behind Prif. That's like perfect.
Yeah. Aquarium decoration daily items. I'll just do this.
Seaweed and stuff.
Somebody out there is still making Great Junganku or whatever it's called. Making sushi.
Slime pit teleport. They want to remove the teleport and make buckets of slime easier to obtain.
That's good.
Zara Herza, a daily toggle. Do we even need this given the Zekar front now?
No, not really.
And then
the amount that you get is such a pittance anyway.
Yeah. And then more, including Shooting Star, Big Chin, Menaphos Obelisks, Rune Spheres, Jade Vines. That's insulting that's even on this list. Jade Vines is absolute garbage.
I mean, yeah. It is weird what they have chosen to include on this list, right? Jade Vine is like, it's a daily insofar as that, like, it's a plant that you plant and wait to regrow. It's a daily as much as the rest of farming. It gives like a
pittance of Slayer XP.
It does, yeah. I mean, it's completely deprecated, right? It's irrelevant.
Yeah.
And it's irrelevant in old school, and it has been forever. So, like, you know.
Claimed Uncharted Isles, Art Contracts, Supply Runs, Trink's Tasks, The Heart of Gielinor Bounty, and the Book of Char. So those are still on the radar. But
Yes. And again, a whole bunch of stuff that isn't on that list that I'm waiting to hear what they intend to do with.
Yeah. Well, what do we think? What do we think?
I think it's good
Now that
overall.
everything's here?
Like I said before, I think they did a great job with messaging and letting us know that
That's a good point.
this will not be perfect, but it will be a step towards being better. So I'm excited for it. I think it'll end up being good.
Yeah, I mean, this is the scary part. This is also the easy part, right? Like, this is the demo, right? Like, and anyone can Kool-Aid man this shit and run through the walls. Scary part is how well they're gonna be able to put it back together and really rebuild it.
Yeah.
But I, they've convinced me that it needs to happen, and
that's
I
a
was
big
one of
step
those
from where you were
time-poor
after
people.
leagues.
Well, and I still will play leagues the way I like to play leagues and the way I want to do that. It's just, I think there's enough RuneScape for people out there to have the experience they want to have. So if this is what we need for the core flagship game to be and what it's always been, then that's what it needs to be.
Yeah. Speaking of RuneScape your way, Tannis, did you hear that Dragon Wilds brought Osborne on as a senior narrative designer? They brought him back?
Yeah. And it made me smile.
Right on. Well, I'm going to thank some Patreon supporters, and we'll get into XP rebalancing. So, with that being said, this week a big, huge thank you goes out to Alvaro L, Amos Reed, Arvids L, Bambino, Bladecon, Chulbura, Dominic R, Duramax, Guy Lafleur, Imperialis, Jade Gizmo, Jason S, Jesse W, Julia W, Kesky, Lemon Lodge, Luminos, Matt Man, Mighty Myth, Mike Wings, Mongrath, Parnassius, Ricky A, Robbie D, Rob Sobs, Samuel FL, Scott DS, Shirt Pants, Sioasis, Marvin, Snail Mage, Tabby, The Naked Captain, The Dabbing Goat, Tim, Ukulele Steve, Woody, Zant, and Zazakon. Big, huge thank you, everybody. If you're wondering what this is about, head on over to patreon.com/RSBANDB. There we have 3 tiers of support available right now, starting for as little as $1 a month. You'll get a thank you in our show notes, access to the full monthly bit library, which now includes 90-plus monthly bits, or bonus shows, as we call them. The last one was our picks for remastered content, the one where Tannis surprised everybody, and I went down the early Herblore path. So if you want to hear that, patreon.com/RSBNB, a little as $1 a month, and you'll be helping to keep the lights on. We then have our community tier at $3 a month, where you'll get a VIP rank on our Discord, a special chat channel, and a monthly shout out at the top of the show. Plus, you'll also have the option of helping shape where the monthly bits go. In the event of quiet weeks, we'll do Patreon discussion topics, and of course, we have our community nights there as well. And for $5 a month, you gain early access to the clips from our clip show, and with that, you'll also get the RSBANDB update Christmas card at the end of the year, and periodically we'll ask you guys to send in short audio clips about the month's updates to share your thoughts on exactly what has been going on in the month. And patreon.com/RSBNB. Thanks so much, everybody. It means a lot to us to just, the amount of support we get. Whether you're somebody who's at the $1 a month tier, or you just got back at $3, or you're been a long time at $5 or $10, it means a lot to us. So thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, let's rebalance some XP. Smile.
More than just that. They're doing things.
Like what?
Well, they're
What are you going
slowing. Well, I mean, it's not. I guess the end result is, yeah, that's the end result. Okay, fair enough. I didn't think of the thieving as a nerf though. I
No,
thought of it as, I don't think of the hunter as a nerf. That one's
they're more like general fixes in some cases, right? Like
they're band-aids that are getting
like if we look at
ripped
agility, it becomes a question of how do you make low-level agility work in the absence of Silverhawk boots. And that's what they did with this one here, by drastically buffing all of the agility courses up to level 35.
Yeah.
To the point that Barbarian Outpost is getting 101% XP buff.
But it needs at least that. It's like, that's the thing. Like, I don't think any of their fixes goes remotely far enough for what the content is that they're removing, what it was trying to cover up. We'll see if 100% is enough. I ain't even convinced that's enough.
Burthorpe has been buffed by
see.
63%, and Gnome has been buffed by 50%. Both of them coming in respectively around 12.4 to 13k XP an hour.
Right. It's not just the XP though at those courses. It's the rate of failure, which just
Yeah, that's not really addressed, is it?
So, and who knows what happens with auras, right? Like, so your guaranteed hour of agility training may not be a guaranteed hour of agility training.
One thing that really like, if you had asked me, I would have like said that there are no low-level agility courses, but looking at this, it's like, yeah, there really aren't any low-level agility courses. like specifically, right? It's you've got 2 at level 1, and then you've got another 2 at 25. And that seems like an odd gap. But also, like, I don't know, it's not that much XP. This, like, it's a strange place to be in, right? Because for veteran players, you're gonna do something like Taurus Trap and put the experience into agility, and then you're gonna skip the early agility levels, right? But as a new player and you're looking at training agility, it's like, I don't know offhand, what the XP required for level 25 is, but you're looking at like a couple of hours at the Gnome Stronghold.
And that's why people went to the Nature's Grotto Bridge, which will now only award 1 XP when traversing that bridge.
RIP.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just looked up like the wiki's recommended agility training, and you don't do an agility course until level 50.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah, if you want to get an early start on Anachronia, you can do at 30, but the value in doing so is pretty low.
It's not fun. Yeah. So, I mean, we'll have to wait and see how it feels. I still question, like what the broader point of agility is. I think shortcuts is where it has to lean into primarily, because when you consider run energy, and we talked about this a few weeks back, run energy really ceases to be a problem somewhere between level 60 and level 70 agility, I find.
I think there's going to be some skills that we're going to have some conversations on. What does this add to the game? What does this do?
Yeah.
Because in order to make these things viable, they're going to have to rebuild them. Like, it may be more than a remaster when it comes to agility, when it comes to fire making, when it comes to Hunter. I know they have all kinds of fun stuff they think when it comes to Hunter, but big game.
Just wait till you try birdhouses.
Well,
I thought we were getting rid of dailies.
No, only the dailies that do good XP, like, beehives. But no, that's fair. It's fair.
I have to say, on the agility points, and specifically to your point, Shane, about shortcuts, they need to fix shortcuts, because a lot of them aren't worth using because the animations are too slow.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that's an issue in old school, the game where you don't have surge and dive.
And see, that's the thing. Earlier this year, I think it was the first update of the year, maybe, they cut down by a tick or something some of the shortcuts in old school, and the difference that makes is immaculate. So
Yeah. I don't know. It feels like it shouldn't take me 5 seconds to squeeze through a little pipe.
no, and that's just all part of the broader questions that need to be had there. But then we get to thieving, because this one has ramifications for all aspects of the thieving skill, specifically pickpocketing, in that all pickpocketing starts at a 75% success rate, which increases with your thieving level and other buffs. And the success rate will thereafter drop over time as you continue to pickpocket until you've caught or pick a new target. And the stun time will be reduced from 7+ ticks to 5 ticks, and all pickpocketing targets will have their locations listed in the thieving skill guide. The changes implementing a decreasing success rate will stop allowing 15 minutes of full AFK throughout the skill, and they're doing this as they want players to interact with the game more regularly and get close to the identity of thieving.
Yep.
Which we knew, right? 1.4, 1.5 mil AFK an hour at the 100+ thieving targets, realistically.
While getting good loot too.
Yeah.
Like you always say, you can probably maybe have 2 of the 3, like good XP, good loot, AFK. Having all 3 is silly. So, and that's where thieving was. I mean, the archaeologist giving binding contracts, good XP, and being fully AFK at, like, I don't even remember what level it is, but like that, I got my group Ironman so many binding contracts because of that.
Yeah, same.
It was a nice few months, and it was very clear from the beginning that things were overpowered with like the amount of charms that the fairy people gave, as an example.
I guess they did nerf those. They're actually not that overpowered now, but they did nerf those. I will say that people are lamenting the removal of AFK thieving. Pickpocketing is still going to be AFK. Just because it's 15-minute AFK doesn't mean it's not AFK. But also, like, we don't know where the specifics of these words. We don't know where the specifics on these success rates are going to land, right?
Right.
You know, it could be that the success rate decays at a rate such that it more or less breaks out to the point where you have to re-click at the same time that you need to recast Crystal Mask. And it's like,
why not?
What's the difference, right? Of course, it could be more frequent than that. We don't know. It's certainly going to be more frequent than 4 clicks an hour, but it's hard to be less frequent than that.
Yeah. How do you feel about this one overall, Tanis?
Oh, so look, I love it. I love me some AFK. I love as much AFK as, you're going to give me. But that being said, this is correct, right? Like, and I think it's a fair way of doing it, right? Start off with a 75% chance. You're never going to traumatize me more than Monkey Knife Fighters did. So
yeah, what a throwback.
I'll one-up you. I'll one-up you. Yeah. You'll never traumatize more than blackjacking.
Oh, yeah, that's bad.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So, like, I think it's right. Now, when it comes to the thieving, I think the more interesting and cooler part of the change is what we haven't talked about yet. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
who had a Pyramid Plunder Revival on their bingo card?
I mean, it makes sense when you look at it. Because this was the way to do thieving if you didn't want to, do the micro-intensive method back in the day. So Scepter of the Gods is getting a major drop rate buff, and
which is incredible. Even because this is an item that has bad luck mitigation currently. Every time you don't get it, the denominator drops by 1. But even still, it's a obnoxious item to get, and it's like mandatory clue gear. So that's incredible.
And then they'll also buff the Black Ibis outfit pieces from 1 in 2300 to 1 in 800.
Wow, they're actually obtainable now.
Modernize the Pyramid Plunder UI. They'll remove the 2-tick delay when opening urns, and urns
There's the thing.
will no longer be clickable once they've been looted. So
There's the other thing.
and this
Both
is
of
how
those.
I got one sentence, and you can go,
Yeah.
Tannis. This is how you do a nerf, by adding things that go up on the other end.
Yes. Yes. And I just want to say those are kind of like secret, sneaky little accessibility things that used to bother me, because I would click on something and I don't always know if I've clicked on that thing already, right? Like
Sure.
I can't really tell a difference. And so like this is actually really nice. There's some nice little changes with that. And the 2-tick thing, same deal. Like I always describe it as like RuneScape is like walking underwater, trying to fight underwater. Like there's always that 2 seconds, of delay. And so this, I think that's going to make it so much smoother when you're trying to go through that little activity, that little mini game.
Yeah, I'm genuinely upset. I have, as soon as we knew that what was happening this year, just in broad terms, like I was very upset that Group Iron Man had come out the year before as opposed to now. Like I want to play through the game after all of these changes go
You're
through.
not the first person to say that.
But like, am I really gonna start a new account right now in the middle of,
No.
commitments with Group Iron Man and all of that? No. I would love to play through this modernized thieving with Pyramid Plunder being viable. It's how I trained a lot of thieving back in the day, and like it's such a useful, as a cluer, right? As an avid cluer, it's such a useful thing to spend a lot of time on. Even as long as it takes to get the Scepter of the Gods. Like at a certain point, I'm going to run out of artifacts to charge it with. So this is super cool.
Also changes coming to the Thieves Guild so that doors and chests will work like they do in heists, and XP will be received in chunks with each successful progression, and the doors and chests will be player-specific rather than world-specific and will respawn faster, because you remember that was also an early thieving meta as well.
Yeah, this is super great.
That's one of the worst thieving grinds, is doing that and hopping worlds, finding like 4 or 5 different friends on different worlds. And
because that's basically the meta until safes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once you unlock those, you're there until safes.
They will reduce the XP from doors and chests slightly, so the north door will give 160 without failing, which is down from its current 210. So not too bad. Older thieving chests will be updated so they become player-specific rather than world-specific, and will be the same as the new chests added with the 120 thieving update. And again, we'll bang really this drum that there are certain chests that were added with the 120 thieving update that really don't have much value behind them. What were they, Lemon? The Raziel chest, the chest, what else?
The Raziel chest. It was so... Yeah, the Raziel and the chest. Hang on, I can open the spreadsheet. I genuinely don't even remember what all the chests were.
I know the Kadarn ones were okay for some of the herb seeds.
The Kadarn ones are pretty good for herb seeds. The Black Knight and Wizard Tower equipment stores are just like kind of weird. Like they give disassembly fodder, but like it's not really very good, and you don't get that much of it.
Yeah. This next one was big, and it's on their list to take note of, especially from the quest it's rewarded from. Initially, they said they would reduce the effectiveness of the Crystal Mask buff from a 25 level boost and 50 with light form to a 10 level boost and 20 with light form. This was also in their post this week saying that given the quest that it comes from in the 6 Age series, that it should feel as though it's a little bit more worthwhile than that. So,
I think whether it should be a 10 to 20 or, like a 15 to 30 or whatever, the specific balancing on that is sort of, we don't know how all of the pickpocketing is going to feel with these changes yet. Obviously they don't want it to be too high such that you never need to recast, that you don't need to run out. I don't know. We'll see how they want to balance it, but you're complaining about the nerf in isolation. We don't really know how the rebalancing is going to go such that we don't actually know what the net effect of this is going to be.
Yeah. And stun damage change will be made to be 3% of max HP rather than current HP. Sorry, Tannis, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that's fair. But I lost it. I don't know. I'll come back to it. I don't know.
And then the higher level thieving stuff will be adjusted later this year. So enjoy those fairies while you can, folks.
I know, like I said this last week, I just need to say it again because we're talking about thieving. If you're coming back and you're rebalancing stuff 2 months after the fact, why didn't you could have just like made it right to begin with? And I know that's like an easy thing to say in the cheap seats, but like,
yeah,
you didn't need 20,000 people testing the thieving update to figure out that the drop rates were too high on things. You could figure that out with a spreadsheet very easily.
All right.
Anyway.
Hunter, another big one. With this whirligigs, is that they're far too good for XP and the meta for almost the entire 1 to 99 grind. Yeah.
There's like a section from like 27 to 40 or something like that the wiki suggests going to something else, but other than that, it's all whirligigs.
And why is that? Because Hunter sucks.
Hunter, yeah,
but I mean, seriously though, like when we're talking about band-aids, the whole meta of the skill is 1 to 99. That's a pretty damn big band-aid. That's a mummy.
Yeah,
that's a lot of gauze.
Yeah, Hunter is interesting because I actually think at the end game for Hunter, once you take away whirligigs, there's actually like a nice variety of a handful of different things that are viable depending on what specifically you want in terms of output. And they need to really bring that down and make the earlier stuff more useful as well.
Yeah, and they say to offset the nerfs, they also plan to increase some XP rates for low-level hunter items because right now it can feel a bit slow, and they want to ensure that there's appropriate methods for leveling up. And I remember before Het's Oasis came out that the best way to train Hunter to 27 was to use the Protean traps from Treasure Hunter before this. So it's going to be in a very interesting spot, I think, for this. And like you said, Tannis, it's ripping the Band-Aid off the mummy in this case on this one. And
Hunter early game is gross. I mean, even though they're and even in the end game, like there is variety and stuff there for sure. Nothing that appeals to me or that I would want to do, but the early game is terrible. What are they going to do with falconry? Are they going to do something with that?
I asked that question last week.
Did you?
because I don't like falconry.
Even putting up the bird snare is like the problem with Hunter, I think, is it's so freaking tedious.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
What is the point of the Hunter skill?
That's the other problem.
Like what does it solve? What is it useful for?
On the high end, you've got a couple of different things. So you've got getting animals for player-owned farms. You've got skill champas, you've got chin champas, both of which are deprecated by the fact that you get them in such high quantities from player-owned farms that hunting them becomes kind of irrelevant. You have the Croesus front for primarily big pages for clue scrolls, which are less relevant now with the current thieving meta for
So
quiz
everything
scrolls.
you have described up to this point is secondary and not Hunter itself.
Yeah.
Which again
the
kind of
the
points
whirly gigs
the
have some
light in the
useful stuff from
problem.
the powders, but Hunter doesn't have a lot to offer.
Oh, where would we be without our powders? Oh,
Hunter
no.
offers agility XP, which is actually like really useful. So like there's that. Yeah, I think
I don't know.
right.
I honestly think OS does Hunter better than we do at this point. It'll be interesting to see what sort of new content comes and what the mid and high level rebalances for the skill look like. But the next one on the list is Divination, which is like 3 sentences. Increasing the XP rates at the low end.
We're done here.
Great. Love it.
I bet they just don't have enough data because who actually does the low end divination?
Well, that's the
Like-
thing. They said
Like everyone just goes to the caches. So
as
I
of
think
writing
giving
this
us
blog, they
quick
were still
numbers.
crunching the numbers, which was about a week ago,
yeah,
and release is 4 days from time of recording.
So just for like ha-has for discussion, if you were to train at rifts only, not doing anything in terms of caches when they open currently, you'd be looking at 54 hours to do 1 to 80 divination. If you do caches for that
Done
and
that.
only caches, it's like 13 hours.
Oh, son of a...
Just because I happen to have those numbers. So anyway, increasing the XP is going to be very welcome. How much it ends up being, we'll see.
Yeah, and as we said, we don't want to go too much into the numbers here because we don't know yet, but we'll save that for the fun week next week. Farming and Herblore. You guys thought I'd be upset about this, or somebody did.
I was surprised to see it on here. I mean, really, I thought these two were the least of our worries. I mean,
No, those early herb seeds are really tedious, and the beehives
that's true.
are too powerful. People sleep on beehives, you know. That's how we started it on the GIM. That's how we started it on leagues. But people sleep on beehives.
Yep.
the beehives are crazy. Once again, it hurts. It's probably the right thing to do.
I know I tipped somebody off in leagues to just go load their beehives up with woad. I think it might have been you.
Yeah. I mean, we do need to put a little bit of we need to put a little tonic water in our drink for on the beehives. It's a little concentrated.
Yeah. So instead of them all unlocking at 17, they'll unlock at a range going all the way up to level 80. And they have the XP listed at an XP per hive per day. And there's 7 hives in total, so you can figure that out. At level 17, it's 216, so that's going to be just about 1,500 XP a day from beehives in total at level 17, and then 4,800 at level 80 for the golden ones. Which, I mean, whew, that's expensive to throw golden.
I don't think anyone's doing that.
So,
I think the golden honeycombs, whatever it's called, increases the rate of getting a shiny. So I'm sure some people do that.
Okay.
Some of those shinies can be very difficult to get, but yeah.
But that's pretty. I mean, I think that's pretty low. That might be lower. Who knows how all this ends up being? It sounds low.
that would be
4,800,
33k XP a day at level 80.
33K.
33.6,
Okay.
yeah. From
Yeah,
7.
I think it's pretty clear that they've made these so that the
Yeah,
reason
that's-
you're doing it is not the experience. I mean, like, yeah, I don't think anybody is going to be doing these for the experience anymore. I think they're going to be doing it for the resource, and also the fact that, like the first one, the one that you would want to use, requires marigolds, which means that you have to farm them in the first place. Like, I don't see that really being something that people are going to be doing now.
Yeah, because the Woodleaf one was brought up to level 35.
Yep.
So. And then Guam, Marintil, Terramin, Haralander, and Herblore seeds will be made more common. So.
Yeah, I find the choice of monsters interesting. All of us have leveled a Gim recently, since the game mode released. How much time did you actually spend killing goblins or swamp frogs or barbarians or guards or hill giants?
No time.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
My Guam, Marintil, and Terramin came from the fetid zombies outside the fort.
100%, yeah.
So,
which
all
are
right.
surprisingly tough. Same with the bound skeletons. Oh my god.
Mhm.
They should do more. They should do more farming and Herblore changes.
Yeah,
But that's a topic for another day.
I think once you start unraveling that kettle of fish, right, it becomes a much more complicated than, hey, let's just slap some extra seeds into some extra mobs.
Yep. Prayer. This was another big gotcha moment. They initially said that the Chaos Altar in the Wilderness would require the Demonic Skull. They heard the comments from the community that the Demonic Skull leads to unsavory PvP, so instead this will be cooked into the Wilderness Area Diary rewards. Because
that's good.
What effectively happened with this is that they say the majority of the altars will have an offer option. These will give a 50% XP bonus when offering bones or ashes compared to just burying them or scattering them. Now the Chaos Altar is going to do what it does now, which is the 350% plus 350%. And the fort altars will be retuned so that they are going to be the method useful for saving materials, while they want the POH altars to have by far the best entirely in terms of the XP rates on them. So,
which makes me hopeful for the POH rework, right? Like, they're obviously wanting to make that pristine and the centerpiece of active prayer training. So
yeah, and they needed to do something because there was too much of sameness between POH altar, fort altar, and the altar in the wilderness. There had to be something done there. So overall, I think they're at a good spot here on this.
Yeah, it's worth noting as well that at least so far the burial powder remains unchanged, so that will still be presumably the go-to method for most players.
Once again, going back to that Whirligig Hunter loop.
Yep.
All right.
Go ahead. It does feel a little bit like they're trying to make the POH happen rather than like anything organic. But okay, I'll leave it. I'll leave it be. I'll let them cook.
POH and you will like it. But they do say these changes to altars will again be reviewed by the team as part of the 120 construction update.
Yeah.
So, all right. And then we get to fishing, which it's like, what? Fishing's on the list? They'll be reducing the catch rate of shrimp and crayfish in order to bring them in line with the other fish at low levels. At one point in the past, shrimp catch rates were tripled, which had knock-on effects, including making it feel harder to get anchovies, which also made shrimp and crayfish the optimal method to train for too long in the early fishing levels.
I missed
Who was
this
expecting
meta.
a low-level nerf?
I'm telling you, I missed this because I went through this game how many times recently with Leagues, Fresh Start, Gim, and I still moved on from shrimp the same way I've moved on from shrimp every time. Like, I never was like, oh, wait, I should stay and keep shrimp fishing.
Yeah.
But hey, if it makes you happy, you go Jagex.
All right. And then finally, a big cave-in from the mining and smithing rework of 2019. They will be re-adding back, in parts, smith gear and mining supplies from creature drops
This is huge. This is
in
huge.
certain areas. It only goes up to adamant, and then they will review Rune and Beyond in the mid or late game rebalances later this year. And the reason for this is that the early salvage is useless in terms of alchemy, and you don't have invention yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's no point to it. And there was something that was lost in removing those items from drop tables in the first place. Gear specifically is like, it's very weird, right? That you can't get any melee upgrades from killing stuff.
Yeah.
And you might say, well, why does that matter? You can just go to the shop and buy it. And that is true. I think the only reason that it matters is, one, just because it's weird, which is like kind of valid in its own point. And then two, it's hard. There is something that is lost for emergent account styles like chunk accounts, for example, when you don't have weird item drops like armor and stuff. I'm sure everybody is familiar with like Swampletics, and like you can imagine how that series might be different if there were no weapon and armor drops prior to getting to Barrows.
Oh yeah, absolutely. and it even for leagues, it puts a great amount of emphasis on needing to definitely do something in the mining and smithing sphere if you're doing that melee stuff. In terms of early gear and whatnot. So, I mean, I understand what they were going for in 2019 with this. Breezy was on that project, and he's on this project here, so I don't feel too bad about these changes. But man, this is a rework or a U-turn of U-turns to see. I did not have this one on the bingo card, but
it's a retcon, right? We're just retconning a little bit
on the bar and ore front. The reason that they made those changes was that they didn't want killing monsters to be the best way to get bars and ores, and I'm sure that in their adding these things back to drop tables in a measured way, that will not be true, right? It will still be the case that the best way to get ore or bars or anything of that sort will not be by killing monsters, but you will get some, right? You may get a handful of steel bars from a Slayer task, and that will be nice because you'll be able to make some cannonballs from that sort of thing.
Yeah. All right. And then the last thing that came up that had people saying, are you making this old school? Changes to Cook's Assistant and Sheep Shearer, in that Cook's Assistant will require normal eggs, milk, and flour, and the first option on the windmill will be fill instead of investigate, and they will add an Easter egg if the player does already have all the items when starting the quest, and they will re-add guidance from the cook about where to get these items. And then Sheep Shearer will require white wool instead of black wool, and they'll increase the quest completion reward for crafting from 150 to 300 XP.
Whoa.
All I'm saying is getting that black sheep is a son of a bitch, and I did it the last league, so
yeah,
this is great. It's just a little something.
It feels like these were changes that were made for not a lot of benefit, and the confusion that they cause is not worth the squeeze, so to speak.
And see, I think we had a discussion in the Discord about this when this post went live. Like, what benefit is there to change this here? But for me, if I'm walking through Lumbridge, and I did this the first time I replayed Cook's Assistant, which would have been the skill pier, I did the quest initially by going to get standard eggs, standard milk, standard flour, and then I went back to the cook and wondered, oh, what's wrong here? And then realized that there was, special variants of them to get. So from my perspective, that's why doing this changeover is a good thing. I don't necessarily, have a cart in the horse a horse in the race about whether or not making this look like old school is good or bad. So
I'm excited to see the Easter egg if the player already has all the items. I love the stuff like that where it's like, why do you just randomly already have this stuff on you? Like, what? So I'm excited to see how they
I
play
prefer
that
the
off.
traditional method. If I need to just, say that outright about where I am. But, I don't know why this is here. You could have left it, I think. But this is definitely one of the ones that paints more old school compared to RS3. So
I think it's worth noting that like they haven't mentioned Imp Catcher, right? Because that was like
right, because they put custom
change
beads
to a
in for
quest.
that to reduce RNG.
Yeah, and also like it takes you around to the different altars, teaches you where they are, like all this sort of stuff. There was meat to the change, whereas both of these two changed quests are both fetch quests, and they're just making it so that any old item will work instead of the special. I know that the black sheep isn't special, but
Yeah.
Or the black wolf isn't special, but yeah.
Okay. Well, there we have it. This apparently arrives this coming Monday. We'll see how it lands.
Yeah, it was earlier than expected, which it shouldn't be considering they had told us previously when it was going to be.
And then we got DailyScape in March and Auras after that. So, okay then. Another thing coming quick is the regrounding of outfits and equipment. What were we hoping to achieve here with this? We were hoping to achieve that I would put the right link in the notes to begin with on that. So I will fix that for you guys. But effectively, this is talking about changing it up so that things that were not immersion breaking stay, but the things that are immersion breaking, like the shark outfit, go, as an example on this one. So rather than having, when you equip your fishing outfit, your elite fishing outfit, you'll actually have something that looks like an actual outfit now, and you won't be walking around like a shark. I know some people that will be upset about that, for whom that formed integral parts of their fashionscaping. But, that's the epitome of not grounded. And it is all about making...
heads.
Yeah, that too. Making visuals and worn items fit better thematically into the world. And this is coming on the 23rd. So
I don't have strong feelings on this.
No, I don't either. Everything here, I think is sensible and makes sense. The one thing I did want to bring up is that for people who have a cosmetic like the shark outfit, or the pumpkin mask is another one of them, is that for people who have those, rather than, just axing them completely, why not just make them a cosmetic override? That way then, if you want to choose to not see them, you can choose to not see them. Or is that maybe a bridge too far for the whole vision of what we got this year? What do you guys think?
I think that would be, I think that would be a more of a viable middle ground. I wonder about some of these. I don't know. To me, it's hard to draw this line between these immersion breaking items and what we have from holiday events. when I'm cruising around on a snowboard and I'm a snowman. Like that's
Oh, that was also on the
Sure.
list. They said that you'd probably only be able to use the snowboard in the winter hub.
right, which
Why can't you
uh,
use it when you go up to Trollweiss?
right.
You
Hey,
got a little
right.
sled
I
that you're
mean,
using anyway.
yeah, that's thematical. So, um, yeah,
I think the problem is that there was a line that was drawn in the sand. We just haven't been told what that line is. And if we were told what
yeah,
that line is, that would make a lot of these decisions seem more clear.
yeah, yeah. I think you're right about that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. There are a couple of items on this post that they say that they're going to be removing outright, which has certainly rubbed some people the wrong way in
Which
terms
ones?
of like it's all the way at the bottom of the post. Sorry, let me pull it up. Flaming head and flaming skull items, zodiac costumes, mimic helm, octopus backpack, super disco outfit, and infected zombie outfit are being removed.
Oh,
Which is
that a good or bad Tannis?
that zombie outfit was really expensive, wasn't it?
I don't know. I know that some of this stuff came from treasure hunter related events. And like I think the mimic helm is the mimic that you fight in game. So like there's a mixture of sources on these items. For people in the Fashionscape community, removal of items is always just like going to be something that they're gonna bristle at pretty hard. Which I understand and I totally get. At the same time, we've got presumably everything that hasn't been made in the last couple of years when they've been future-proofing themselves with the upcoming Avatar rework is going to need to be touched up in some way.
Yeah.
We'll see what the extent of that is going to be. And there's a ton of items in the game. So like supporting everything forever isn't necessarily also isn't necessarily the best solution, right? So it's like
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. There are definitely times where you cut off, support for things like that. And I think the biggest thing is that do the outfits like the Master Runecrafter's outfit, the Master Diviner's outfit, and the Master Angler's outfit that are being substantially changed here. Do those provide a good enough substitute for this that fit into the game world based on what people say? And then alongside of all this regrounding, again, what is the line that has been drawn in the sand and where is that going to effectively be communicated, I think if you communicate that, most of the questions that appear with this post will cease to be questions.
Yeah. I do want to just put on the record that people who've listened to episodes what I've been on in the past will be aware that like I beat this drum of like this year, like there are going to be a lot of things where concessions have to be made for timeliness, and that slipping of delivery dates is going to be a major issue. And this is a really clear example of that. In response to a Reddit post about why are all of the new outfits just palette swap versions of an existing one, Mod Anvil basically said, yeah, that's all we have time for, which is like, that's not a great answer.
No, it's
but
not.
It also is the only answer, because if you don't have time for anything else, then it is what it is. And that, I mean, it's like, it's not ideal. And in theory, I guess it could be something where you put to the community, like, is it important that we redo these outfits properly, or would you rather have that art budget go to something else? And I don't think that we should have those questions personally.
No, that is not
like,
that is not the kind of question the players should be answering.
No. So it's unfortunate, but this is just the nature of what it is.
Yeah. Which makes you wonder, why are they on such a tight time schedule for all this?
Art budget is always like the limiting factor in a lot of things. Sanctum, like one of the reasons why the Nakatra model was so terrible for the longest time is because they just used like the player model rather than making a new one properly.
Right.
With the
and then
Princess
they
and the
retrofitted
Pauper
in
quest
later,
last week.
I think, yeah.
Yeah, with the Princess of the Pauper quest last week, one of the design goals for that was no new art assets, because we've got the player avatar rework coming later this year. In a few months, we get like the first installation of that. And there's a whole lot of stuff that needs to get fixed. Things that need to get retouched and all of that. So
yeah. Well, I don't think that, nothing is overly controversial, and, it's not going to rock the boat too much. I know one thing that definitely has rocked the boat is the back and forth, the continual back and forth on all the combat changes that have come with the combat beta, to the point that we have delayed it twice already, and I said, no, this week we're actually doing it. So the combat beta came in late December, got an early January update, got a February update, a second February update, and presumably a third February update coming this week, maybe, on this, with the goal of releasing it on the 23rd, they say. So what we want to do here is go over the overall goals and vision of what they talked about, and then talk a little bit about each of the styles. We're not going to go too far into the numbers on this and what kind of the rotations might be, because I don't think we're at that point yet where that's solid enough that we can do that, so that'll be a topic for another show. But overall, if we were to look at the goals and the vision of what they're doing, let me just quickly say what it comes down to is that this is primarily focused on the early game with this update, so that once the early game is solid, they can continue to improve and expand upon the mid-game experience, such as ammo and EOFs. As such, they were looking to modernize and improve the game's 3 original combat styles to provide a clean foundation for future combat updates. What this means is that you have the removal of thresholds to move to an ability like ecosystem like necromancy. You get 120s across the board, create and embrace clear style identities, reduce the number of abilities by removing redundant or rarely used options, as well as stripping away filler abilities, reducing keybind bloat, and I will agree to that, and I actually tested this for you earlier, Tannis. You can actually have a very effective, about 4 or 5 ability melee revolution action bar for Slayer.
Nice. And I was wondering how close this combat beta was going to bring us to League's melee. Because
it's there.
Hey.
Like, to not put the cart before the horse with melee, but on the beta I grabbed Zuxord, the EZK, and I was able to not necessarily reach necromancy times on bosses, but I was able to effectively do bossing with just that sword. So we are at the point where you can choose a combat style, get a legendary weapon, or even just make the Masterwork armor for the case of melee and the Masterwork spear and run with it. But that's a bit of a side tangent there. Animation and combat flow, and improve the progression of abilities to feel more natural. So if we're talking about general design and vision on this, Bears, how does it feel coming at this from a high level perspective?
For like the animations and such?
Well, just in general,
just in general. I mean, something that I've been kind of feeling since I was last on during like the range beta was I was so worried that they were going to kind of lower the ceiling and raise the floor, which I feel like they're doing a great job of raising the floor. And I was, like I said, so worried that they were going to take the skill level down, and like the GM times or like where people are sitting there sweating and they're earn the times that they get won't be possible anymore because of quote unquote nerfs, right? And after the range beta, I was very worried about that. And I feel like this was pretty close to being really good. And it might be too overtuned. So we'll see if they tone it down a bit. But like one of my favorite things in the game to do is Solak and doing hybrid between magic and melee. And just the way that works is like you have to do like a tsunami before you Zerk, you have to do meteor before you sun. Like you just got to keep that adrenaline going. And when they were like, we're removing meteor strike to allow like magic hits to proc it and stuff like that, like I was like, yep, hybriding's dead. I don't think it is if they went live with what is out today. So I think they've done a good job of not lowering the ceiling. So I think it feels pretty good right now.
Yeah, and I'll back that up. The only best in slot equipment that I've had has been the necromancy ones, and I feel like even for me, when it comes to looking at things like the 3 legacy styles, I still have to lean in and do a lot of work myself to really punch above that mid to high level tier with the gear that I have. So I'll back you up on that. What about you, Lemon?
Coming to the beta was very alien at first. I've been necromancying for so long, and the muscle memory that I had for the styles was all gone. And not just because I hadn't done it in a while, but like half of the buttons that I would normally look to press like aren't there anymore. And that's been something that has been very difficult to get the hang of. But I am really pleased with most of the changes. Balance tuning will happen. I will learn the styles a little bit better as we go on. But overall, I'm a big fan. I've been trying to make melee happen on the GIM for a long while now, and getting all of the pieces to come together for that, getting the easy K, getting all of the greater abilities, getting the vestments, getting all of that together is such a heroic task, and anything less than that just doesn't feel worthwhile.
Yeah.
And there are, like, don't get me wrong, like vestments are still so incredibly strong. But it feels much more viable to be using the styles at a non-end game point.
That's exactly it.
Yep.
That was one of the big goals of this project, right?
I feel like there's a horizontal difference if we look at Magic in particular between running two McKins at 95 and then one of the Tectonic sets, or even the hybrid Sliske set for just the pure crit chance behind it. Both of them are viable in their own unique ways. It's just the two McKins one plays differently with how it interacts with Sunshine and the crit damage after that. So I agree with that too. And I think one of the things that has enabled that is this chart here that they have at the end of beta post 2 that showcases the average power based on level. And effectively what they've done is they bowed out that chart so that they start at the same point and they end at the same point that they do in the live game. But the mid game, in terms of the raw damage output, is amplified quite a bit more.
And one of the things that they really were looking to change with this is they removed the they are removing, right, the Berserk auras, maniacal, whatever Berserk, and whatever the ranged one is, reckless, and basically making so the buff that you get from that comes from 120. But of course, we all know how much more XP 120 is than 99.
Yay!
And this is to lessen in part, right? Because obviously the bowing is substantially throughout the mid, and I mean it's at all points, right? But those later levels account for a lot less. So the benefit of going from 99 to 120 is still there, but it's not nearly as severe as it was, which is nice to see.
Yeah. Another great thing that they did is they removed the noob food trap, in that food used to take 10 adrenaline, and now it's only 3. So you can actually use solid food now and not nearly feel as bad as you were in the past on that, which I think is great.
Yep.
Yeah, no more fat shaming people that eat food like myself.
Right, because you look at this and you eat, like 3 sharks and you're down 30% adrenaline, which is just damage. So whereas before, now you're only down 9, which is 1 basic attack. So, whoop-de-doo, you'll recover that immediately. So that was a needed change. The stuns work a bit differently too. There's 1 stun ability per style, and they come with 2 charges, which is different than Necromancy still.
Yeah, the second charge is a leveling benefit. They've really leaned into the leveling benefits throughout all of this, which is it's certainly a very different experience than what we have had, right? Where abilities are changing over time as you level them, both in terms of unlocking stuns, in terms of dismember, slaughter, is it massacre for the melee abilities, right? Having these 3 different steps to it is a really interesting change and not something that we had seen before Necromancy. It's a little clunky in some ways, but it is kind of elegant in terms of like, well, what if you only needed to have 1 ability on your bar instead of 3?
Yeah. I mean, you can ask that, and it's just nicer to know that this button is a stun, and you don't need to worry about the amount of adrenaline that you would need for the threshold. Granted, you're not gonna have as nice of a situation if you stack 3 or 5 souls up with Necromancy, where you can just like throw them out and each of them acts as stun in their single shot. But I want to get to
this also.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think this goes also into like the ability bloating. Like there were too many abilities. So like doing something small like this cuts down, like you said, cuts from 1 or from 2 to 3 or into 1 ability. And like also just getting rid of a lot of the melee abilities, just like the bars are going to be so much simpler. It's going to be like you said earlier, like we're going to free up some keybinds. So I'm excited for that aspect a lot.
Yeah. And I this is one of the things Necromancy does well. And we actually, when we did the micro lesson on Necromancy action bars, the bulk of that video was spent on updating the legacy combat styles, because the Necromancy ones are so simple, and we're going to be in that situation again with these styles here. So it definitely ticks the boxes in that case. But I want to get to ranged, because Bears, this is your baby. Overall, how does this feel?
Good. My biggest, like I said before, my biggest concern was the adrenaline and all 3 styles. And I did a full rotation with all 3 of them, and all of them I finished with full adrenaline. So adrenaline doesn't feel like it'll be an issue. I like the identity of just keep hitting, like rapid fire, dead shot, snapshot. They all hit more than once. That feels right for range. So it felt good.
For me, ranged was my starting combat style, which is, weird to say given, how deep you can get into range nowadays. But I started when crossbow bolts were still the meta thing, before the bow meta. And what I was able to do on the beta without, reading guides, just looking at the tooltips and what I had in front of me, it was definitely intuitive enough and powerful enough that I was actually, in terms of being able to understand it, I feel like I understood ranged the best out of the 3 that were on the beta, just from looking at what was there.
Yeah, range is like really clear what it as a style wants you to do. You have, like a really clear ability and how it synergizes in terms of the multi-hit, in terms of adrenaline gain. You've got one for damage buff, which again, it's very clear. You want to use that. You want to use Deadshot. You want to use Rapid Fire, right? It's very clear. I personally like range is my favorite of the three in the beta by like a pretty significant margin.
Okay. I won't say what mine is yet. I'll save it till we get there.
I haven't. I have like Iron Man concerns about like ammunition and stuff like that, which
obviously
there we'll get to in time, I'm sure. You know, like consumption rates on one hand, and then on the other hand, like production rates. You know, like at some point we're gonna get a tier 95 crossbow, and then like bolts become an issue because like I don't know if any of you have ever like made your own backcriminal bolts. I don't recommend it.
No, it's tedious.
So yeah.
Speaking of that, anybody tried crossbows on the beta? I mainly just used bowls.
Yes, I did.
How were they?
Not terrible. It is pretty. So when I used crossbows, I was using Elite Serenic and ECB.
Right.
And it was pretty obvious how lackluster the Elite Serenic effect is compared to the Elite Dracolich. That being said, having more clearly impactful ammunition was something that I really appreciated. If I felt like I needed healing, I could swap in Onyx Bolts. If I needed adrenaline, I could swap in Hydrix. If I wanted damage, I could swap in Rubies. I didn't bother making any Diamond Bolts, so like I can't really comment on those. It's just damage by a different number. I felt like there was a lot of potential there. I did really feel the difference though between a tier 92 and a sharded tier 100 the Bow of the Last Guardian, and, like needless to say.
And that's the thing, until you do that move from 90 to 92 to 95 to 100, it is stark in terms of how that feels. I was wondering what was going on, and then I realized, oh, I'm still using a level 90 weapon here. Oopsies. So, but overall, I think the important thing we take away from ranged is that it's just so much easier to get into and easier to understand than what is on live. So if that is accomplishing the mission for this beta, then yes, it has done that. But that then leads me, Lemon, thank you for, I'm going to say you did a bunch of early level testing on this. How did this one feel at the early levels?
So I didn't go back and test range specifically at early levels this week. Nothing significantly changed such that I couldn't just like intuit the differences. I think like the main thing that changed for range this week compared to the previous beta was slight changes to Imbue Gales, the damage boosting ability. Primarily they extended the duration on that, and they also extended the cooldown, which worked really well, I think. The extended duration on it fixed one of the big issues that I had when I was leveling, which was that it didn't feel worth using very much because you needed to hit a certain number of abilities used in order for it to be worth the cooldown. And it wasn't possible to do that when you unlocked it. It wasn't really viable for that to happen until at minimum you hit rapid fire, which is like, hold on one second.
I think it's 54.
So you unlock it at level, where is it? You unlock it at level 58. So actually that's not too bad. Rapid fire is at 62.
Okay.
So that's not too bad. I did my testing at some of my testing at level 60, right? So that was right in that in-between space.
And for people wondering what these abilities are, you know, we'll do our time once this goes live, once we know what the final numbers are, and we'll provide all the typical information we know you guys like out there.
Yeah.
For that. The one thing I think that we lack in range still, that this beta does not fix, it by far has the least sustain out of any of the styles out there.
Unless you're using a crossbow.
I guess.
Well, so what's interesting with that is the way Soul Split works is you heal more from multiple small hits. So in theory, you would be healing more from Soul Split with this. So like I think that is their way of like keeping your HP high. Now you have Split Soul that cancels that all out, but I think that's gonna be your level of sustain.
Yeah, I wonder to what degree a viable solution to this is like just learn to soul split flick, bro. Because like that is the solution for end game players. Whether or not that is a viable, whether or not that is a reasonable expectation of like an average player,
Let's talk beginner mid
is
level.
unclear.
That's where this comes in, I think. So
Say that one more time. Sorry.
I think at the beginner to mid levels, like if we
Beginner
take
to mid-level,
like
yeah.
Flesh Hatcher Makarnez as an example, if we take that and look
Yeah.
at how somebody in the 60 to 80 band would do there, sustain wise with ranged versus the other styles, I think that is where we answer that range sustain question in terms of soul split and whether or not flicking is an acceptable answer.
Yeah, I didn't test that specific boss with range. I did with melee. And obviously, it's a boss that is intended to be done with range.
Yeah.
So you've got better defense in terms of combat style advantage. You've got better accuracy, so you're dealing a higher percent of damage. So in theory, the kills should be faster than they were with melee. But I was doing it with tier 60 melee earlier today, and I was getting like 2-minute kills, which is in like using a lot of food. And I didn't like boost my I didn't reduce my hit points down to 60. I just went in with 99 hit points.
Right.
And I was chunking through Swordfish in a way that I did not anticipate.
Are there any areas in range that could use a second look here? I know we're getting to the point where this is going to ship live soon. Like, is this a ship it state, or what do you guys think? Let's Bears, you're the end game ranger here. What do you think?
Yeah, I think they could send it out. I mean, there'd be probably minor tweaks, which, like, I mean, change a tick or two here and there, which I wouldn't have an issue with. But yeah, it feels pretty good.
Like range should be the one that's the most
adrenaline.
fleshed out because we got it in December to begin with.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, well, you get lots of adrenaline, you get lots of hits. It is in a good spot.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's move on to Mali then. And spoilers. Well, I guess not spoilers since we're here right now. This one was my favorite to play with.
Same.
Because for the longest time, I had no idea what to do with Mali at the high end. I was consumed with the idea that you would need, 4 switches and you would need, different EOFs to make it work. But I made it work with my crafted masterwork armor and an easy K. To the point that it was something I would have no problem using as long as I was okay, getting hands on with the enemy that I was working with. And again, I did no research outside of the news posts and the tooltips to make it work. And I did. I was hitting multiple 30Ks with the overpower spec from the Zuck Cape, berserking, and then what's the other ultimate that recharges adrenaline with range? Meteor Strike. Meteoring, and then into destroy, I think it was, or no, assault. Destroy went away with that, applying bleeds, and it just worked. I was very pleased with it, in terms of how it felt.
Yeah.
What'd you guys find?
I am too. It's a lot of damage really quick. I mean, I had so much fun with, like, it feels like a rotation that should never be allowed, but like I would barge in, meteor strike, and then still somehow have enough adrenaline for Zerk, and then still be and that's in enough time where I can then bleed the assaults that started from the greater barrage. Like, that doesn't feel like that should be allowed. And yeah, I was doing it and then still having 100% adrenaline after that, and it's just like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And it just like feels like you're constantly
Is it
using
overtuned?
abilities. I think so. Like, you are constantly using abilities that take adrenaline, and after that ability is done, you have more adrenaline than before. So as someone who loves using adrenaline, that's fun. But I think it's probably going to be too much.
And the thing I want Tanis to walk away from here is that if you have your crafted masterwork gear, your masterwork sword, you are set. The only thing you might want is a little bit more range, but you are set. Maybe added an
That's
EOF
exciting.
with the Dragon Two-Hander, but it is 100% serviceable for any Slayer content you could want. And it's a simple rotation, too, when it comes down to it. Like I was saying, it's 4 or 5 abilities that you really only need to worry about to make it go at that level. So,
No, I think that'll be nice. That'll be fun. I mean, that's part of what I liked about what little combat I was doing in leagues. Was doing the melee and yeah. So this will be cool, right? It's right up my alley for low level bossing and Slayer.
yeah. Lemon, how'd you find it?
I have to be honest. Like, overall, I do enjoy melee. The two main things that like stand out for me as being like, problem is like too strong of a word, but like things that I will need to figure out what my solution is to them is like, first and foremost, like, you take so much damage with melee, or at least I take so much damage with melee, right? And part of that is Zerk. Obviously, you take increased damage with Zerk. I think they tuned it down. It's only like 25%
to be fair,
more
I didn't
instead of
play with
50% more.
vestments, so I was running with the masterwork bleed effect, keeping me alive.
Right, sure, yeah. Investments, right, being the other part of that, where it's like tier 75 defense or something like that. You really notice that, especially when you're dealing with magic attacks, and you're used to using necromancy, which doesn't get any benefit or penalty to the combat triangle, and then like you feel like you get really punished by magic. I felt like I got really punished by magic attacks with melee. Go ahead.
Well, that's kind of interesting because like I was sitting there thinking, like, in the game right now, the only times I really do melee is when I'm hybriding at Solak or Masket. And the only times you are switching to melee are times where there is very little damage being dealt to you. So like, it is in a phase where you are dealing a ton of damage and their boss is not hitting you back.
Sure.
And that's like, you're super safe at that point. You can sit there and soul split. So it will be interesting to see if you can start meleeing outside of those parts during those fights.
Yeah, I guess I hadn't really thought about that, but like, that's part of why probably so many people only use melee for hybriding.
Yeah.
It's because you do take so much damage. And like, like I was rocking my vampirism scrimshaw to see if that would make the difference, and it didn't really make the difference. And
that's why they gave it such a massive heal on leagues when you look at it, because they knew what people would be fighting with.
Yeah. So I also, I don't, this comment will also stand for magic as well, but like, I don't love in melee, right, you've got the bloodlust stacks, in magic you've got the runic charge. I don't love that system where you have this one ability that then benefits like 3 or 4 different other abilities. I'm sure like once I get the hang of it, it'll be fine, but it's like,
that's interesting,
it feels like
that
there's too much going on there.
That was one of the things that I really liked leaning into. If anything, it was just the timing between them to get that timing right, to make sure that it was captured by the right ability.
Sure. Yeah, you've got to be careful with what's on Revolution, and also the basic ability eats it, which is kind of unfortunate.
But
I don't know who's benefiting from that heal off of the bloodlust stack.
I mean, it's just there. It's not that much. Like it's like we said earlier, it's a drop in the pool in terms of things. So overall, I think we've talked about sustain already with melee, and that, you know, that there are ways to do this. You have the tank armor, you have the masterwork set. You are actively saying no sustain, please, when you move on to the vestments.
Yeah, it could be that there's space there, right, for two different styles with melee. You know, where we've got for range, we've got crossbows, we've got bows, and they do play differently to a certain extent. You know, we could have the same thing with more of a glass cannon build and more of a tank build.
Yeah.
Do you think that, like,
the same thing
Trim
with
Masterwork
damage
needs a little bit of an update?
Like, it's because you still got
but
that, you know, weird melee bleed subtype that you can lean into. I don't think it's that good here in the beta. Everything is angled towards those big, chunky, massive hits there for it. So,
yeah.
Overall, any areas of improvement here?
On the leveling side of things, melee is a little bit awkward in that it feels like overpower should be a good ability that you want to use, and it really isn't that good.
It's probably a good time to discuss that.
When you unlock melee, in the early levels for melee, right? So the first ability that you unlock at level 3 is Assault. Assault has a 4.8 second channel, and it has a 6 second cooldown or something to that effect, right? Every time you use Assault, you've got one ability in between, and then you can use Assault again. So basically, early on in melee, you're always assaulting. And you're running at a net deficit for adrenaline because of that, because of the short cooldown, because of the channeling. And with other styles in the early game, your adrenaline spender is just a single cast, right? It's not a channel.
Right.
It's snapshot and it's wild magic. So you're building more adrenaline on average with the other styles than you are with melee, which leaves not a lot of space for overpower to be usable. Yeah, to whatever degree the other ultimates are usable on the other styles, it's not that great anyway. But like melee feels like especially punished because there's just no adrenaline.
And that's a good point to jump in on this, that they did modify Overpower, Deadshot, Omnipower, and Death Skulls to require 60% adrenaline instead of the 100 that they would have normally, and you still need the Zuck Capes to get them to hit more and have the other mutating effects to it. And we were discussing this in terms of Bears, you said it a good way, in that magic, the thing that you want from the magic variant of this is for it to hit 4 times, because if you can get it to crit with both your Tsunami Extra Adren active and the spec from the Fasoa, that's more damage on the magic side. Whereas on the melee side, I guess we're just looking at big chunky hits here.
Yeah. On the way the math works out is unaugmented by the Igneous Cape. It's a 500% ability that hits once, and then with the cape, it's a 300% ability that hits twice for a total of 600%. So like the damage increase isn't that large, but the way that it becomes very good, like you were saying earlier, Shane, is that you end up in a space where both of those hits can hit for 30k. So having that split is very important for not going over damage cap. But when you're nowhere near damage cap and you have no adrenaline and you have no buffs to speak from other than an increased 25% increased crit chance off of Fury and a crit at level 20. I mean, Fury's higher than level 20, but like you only get like a 15% damage buff off of your crits early on. It's like, it's really not that, it's not that good.
So it doesn't really lean into what it becomes later on, is what you're saying. Would be a good way of putting it.
Yeah, like the game gives you this ability, and it's like, this is your ultimate ability. This is the thing you want to spend adrenaline on, and it's just not worth it. And it doesn't become worth it until you get a Zuck Cape, which is like, the Zuck Cape is big and impactful because of it, but also like you're spending all this time with a dead ability because of it.
Yeah.
So.
And, I said that, maybe the option to this then, because Death Skull's modified by the Necromancy Zuck Cape is also very important. Maybe the thing to do is to just take those modifiers in addition to the lower adrenaline off the Zuck Cape and give the Zuck Cape some other effect across all the styles.
Yeah, I don't know what that would be, but
okay. And we kind of danced on magic there. Anything else from Melee for either of you?
Nope, I'm good.
No, I mean the one sustain ability that you get is the mutated basic attack, which really doesn't come up frequently enough to be any sort of reliable heal, and you're losing either in AoE you're losing the cooldown off of Hurricane, or in a single target fight you're losing the crit chance on Assault.
Yeah.
So
all right. Magic. I feel like I had the most fun with magic out of any of the ones that were presented here. I haven't maged in a long time in PVM. It took me a while to understand exactly what the Tupmakin's rotation was, and in many ways the non-Tupmakin's rotation to me was easier to grasp, but by the end of the day, I felt like I was actually making some good progress on everything that had been laid out with the magic combat style. And, honestly, I'm at a point now where I think I would like to try maining magic on my main character, probably going forward. So that's my take on it. It feels good. I don't necessarily think that it's horrendously overpowered, and I think we were saying as well as we were setting this episode up that this one probably feels the most like it does on live.
Yeah, like the only big change that I feel like happened is the greater sonic wave
was made useful.
And it's reducing your adrenaline cost for the next ability by 20%. It's like just weaving that into your rotation more. Is really the only thing that changed. Combust using adrenaline and Magma using adrenaline also was kind of a buzzkill. Both of those are pretty good abilities, but I don't know if they're going to be good enough to use when you need adrenaline to use them. Which I guess it talks about the other aspect of magic, right? Where you have the FSOA, and then when you're done with that, what do you do? And it should be Wand and Orb, but that feels very bad right now with having to use adrenaline for Combust. Because like in the main game, I basically switched Wand and Orb, use a couple bleeds, use Suspect, and then use a couple more bleeds. And it's like kind of building my adrenaline back up to 100% for me to Sunshine and do the FSOA rotation again. So with Combust now taking adrenaline, it won't be as easy to do that.
Yeah. And I also feel like there has been, over time, there's been this just general idea that that Magma Tempest in particular and Combust are two of the things that people always lean towards just having the passive magic damage out there, specifically because they were those basics. But now with them costing adrenaline, you're right, Bears, like where do you use these? You have to use them at a point where you can either reduce the cost of it with greater sonic, or to a point that you're going to be able to throw in a couple basics before you need to, cast off the Tsunami Asphyxiate combo inside Sunshine after that again. Because if you don't, then it's like, okay, well, these kind of two abilities, one of them being from Zuck, you might question what its ultimate purpose is going to be.
Yeah. And then going along with that, I didn't actually realize that this until now is Corruption Blast does not give you adrenaline also. So
that explains things. I thought it was a basic, and I was like, why is this thing going through my
Yeah, I just realized it too. So it just, I don't know when you're actually going to use Wand and Orb. to or use the bleeds now in general, and then especially with just how bleeds work in the game, where if both of us apply the same bleed, one of them doesn't count. So that makes it tough too.
Yeah, I haven't spent I haven't really spent any time trying to put together an AFK setup for like Slayer type content. I could imagine Wand and Orb being that type of thing, because you're going to be wanting to use like your Magma Tempest and your Corruption Blast in those situations anyway. But like, yeah. I have to say, on Magic overall, like I felt like this was the most complicated style, because there are the most like disparate things going on.
Okay,
and
so
maybe
that
part of
wasn't
that
just
is
me.
like,
okay, good.
yeah, and I think part of that is like, I think range probably would be more complicated if I was trying to manage bulk stacks, which like I have no interest in doing. But in terms of Magic, it's like it felt like very important to me that like I try to manage the stacks for both Incite Fear and for Exsanguinate.
Oh God, I wasn't
which like gives you some built-in like, oh okay, built-in complexity, like from not from the ground level, because obviously those are later unlocks from quests, but you know, in terms of like, you know, the base functionality of the skill outside of, you know, like a legendary weapon, it felt more complicated for that reason. We'll also say like with range, you know, one of the comments that we made was it felt like it was very clear what the style wanted you to do at any point. And with Magic, I felt like there was always stuff I could do, but it wasn't clear to me what I should be doing. Part of that is perhaps that I haven't maged in any reasonable description of that since 2018 or 2017, one of those two. And obviously everything is different from then. So
yeah, and Bears, you can maybe shed some light on this, because I messaged you and I'm like, what am I supposed to do for this rotation? It was the one of the three styles that I just could not make work until I messaged you on that. And I don't know what it was, and I guess it finally clicked when I focused on that Sunshine rotation, the Asphyxiate, and also have the Fractured Staff special running at the same time. But I agree. It took a while to get into.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like we said before, it is the closest to what it is in the main game now. So as someone who has been maging a lot recently, like it didn't really feel like it changed too much. And then like it just like taking me back to the days of like before G-Conk could be used with a staff, and like how crazy it was switching. Like you'd FSOA specs into dual wield to G-Conk and then back to staff, and like just how much better it is right now that you're not switching constantly between each weapon. Like it really is use Sunshine the whole, and then use the FSOA the whole Sunshine, and then outside of Sunshine, that's when you maybe use Wand and Orb.
Yeah.
So,
but like you said,
they've nailed that. Like
with the bleeds in the way it is here, what does that mean for group content, right?
Yeah, so. And we'll see. I mean, I'm hoping that that's going to be the big adjustment they make with Magic, is figuring out where the Wand and Orb come into play with your minute-long boss fights, where 30 seconds of it's Sunshine, the other 30 seconds is whatever else.
Yeah. Okay. And then obviously Sustain can come where it always has in Magic from the Crypt Loom side of things. If you need to feel comfy, that's what you have. Because like we said, not much else has changed there. And, you know, with that, I don't even know if there's any changes that we can recommend for Magic at this point. Like, I think the second beta that we didn't talk about last week did it, because there was a time where the full greater concentrated blast was giving you 24% extra crit chance, and the update this week brought it down to 21. So 3 ticks of 8 versus now 3 ticks of 7 for that, amongst other things.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. One other change that they made with magic in this is that casting spells from your, I mean, I guess you could do it from the book. I don't know why you would, but casting spells from the action bar just uses them as if they were a basic attack. So you can just like auto cast. The way that I was managing Incite Fear stacks while I was auto casting Exsanguinate was this every now and then I would just, when I needed to hit what would have been the basic ability, I just instead swapped it so that Incite Fear was there, and it deals the same damage that Incite Fear would do, but instead it gives you that, the effect of that spell instead. And you could do that with any of your spells. So you could do that with barraging. If you were doing Telos and you needed to stun, or you need to bind minions, right? You could just drag Ice Barrage onto there. One thing that I noted is if you do that, you would expect that Blood Barrage would heal you, and it doesn't unless you're also auto-casting Blood Barrage, which feels like a bug to me, but anyway.
Yeah, that does feel like a bug, and that leads me into something else I wanted to say on this, and thank you for bringing it up, is that this really puts us in that same sort of mode where we now start to question what the purpose of Legacy combat is.
Right.
Because with the basics being so strong, is that you can now have this AoE attack out there and then throw in a couple more basic AoEs and bam, you're done. It really is that simple.
Yeah, so I don't know if they have plans to kill Legacy. I mean, it would probably make things simpler for them. It's just one less thing to maintain. I mean, it kind of feels, I don't know exactly how the balancing works out differently between, like between
casting
auto
basics
attacks.
and Legacy. Yeah, I don't know.
I'm sure the auto attacks in Legacy are more powerful, but like,
I think they are.
It should be very non-trivial to set up like the simplest of action bars to make Legacy not really be a going concern anymore.
But the thing is like, how do you convey that information to the player? That's what it's going to come down to in the end, I think. But I mean, overall, I think they tick the boxes on what needs to be done here and what their goal is. And aside from number tweaks and maybe some level changes like we were talking, it is realistic to see this shipping at the end of the month. Bears, do you have any final thoughts here in terms of like just general play to get this thing ready to go?
It's something that I brought up during the range beta show, and again, it's only gonna impact the way my action bar is set up, but I don't like the fact that nothing is now called a threshold. So like, you can't set up your revolution bar to only do basics. It will just do all abilities now. So I'm still hoping they find a way to fix that, but we'll see.
Yeah, unfortunately, it might be just a change of the way that you organize your bar, which isn't necessarily, which I understand isn't ideal. Like,
but it's doable.
Yeah, so. One of the things that's like really frustrating to me about the way that the reduction of basic abilities has played out is that, my action bar for necromancy is set up such that like my first 4 or 5 abilities, 6 ability, whatever it is, A, F, D, F, G are all basic abilities, right? You've got my conjure army, I've got my command ghost, my command skeleton, and then I've got soul sap, I've got whatever the basic necromancy abilities are, right? Right there, right? So I'm used to pressing certain buttons for basic abilities to use those manually. And when I only have like, I think with most styles, I'm using like 3 basic abilities basic abilities in Revolution right now, and it's like I have Snipe there. I'm not really using Snipe, but I keep accidentally pressing it because I'm used to pressing that button for Necromancy. And like, again, that's a solvable issue of like just getting used to different things. But it is causing me problems.
Okay. And then overall, do we think it matches the goals and visions of that they put forward here of making it simpler to get into? My answer is yes.
I think so too. I think simplicity-wise, yes. I think each style having its own identity is still a little iffy. I think range kills it with it's very obvious. The other two are still struggling a little bit, but they're both still in a good spot where, like, I think they could go live. I think melee would need to be toned down a little bit with the adrenaline gains, but besides that, I think it could go live.
All right. Any final thoughts from either you, Lemon or Tannis?
I would say that one of the things that has been very helpful for me, like learning the changes to the styles, was playing it at a low level and working my way through it.
That's a good point.
It was very overwhelming jumping into the beta, and suddenly all of the abilities are different. That's an overstatement, right? But like the things that I am that I have muscle memory for doing is no longer there. And if I just think, well, the thing that I need to do is do a Zerk and then do an assault and then question mark, I'm going to spend too long thinking about doing it. And that's going to be problematic for me. But being able within the beta to tone it back down to the basics and work my way up was very good. So I am very optimistic about what the experience is going to be for new players coming to RuneScape 3 and experiencing, their way through the combat.
You could say we're going back to basics.
You could, even though we've removed all the basics. The basics no longer exist, but we are back to basics.
Oh boy, alrighty. Well, there we go. That's the combat beta. Folks, this recorded on Thursday the 12th in the evening, so if there is a combat update on Friday the 13th, or the coming week, that happened after we recorded. We needed to get this one done and out, and we're treating next week as kind of a great reset for this, since our backlog is now done for content that we've been trying to get out the door for the last number of weeks. But we do have a few achievables this week, starting off with Pugnacious with 99 Prayer on the 10th. Woody got 200 mil woodcutting also on the 10th. Black Nexican got 120 magic on the 9th, and Iron VSS got 99 ranged also on the 9th.
Continuing on the 9th, we have Ishk with 120 rune crafting, Isarap with 120 range on the 8th, and then Pugnacious with 120 archaeology also on the 8th.
Good
Very
job.
good. I've got Black Mexican 120 Constitution on the 6th, Rappa 120 Thieving on the 6th, and Them Gains 200 mil fletching on the 5th. Well done.
Nicely done, everybody. If you want to appear on the podcast, we do have the Help Wanted form, update.show/help. Just fill that out. Tell us about why you play RuneScape, why you want to be on the show, but most importantly, tell us how to contact you, because if you don't tell us how to contact you in this form, we can't reach out. So if you ever wanted to help out and be on the show, just head on over to update.show/help and fill out that form there. But it is time to do a pick of the week, and I said I gave these guys a pick of the week choice, and they chose the Star Trek one. So what I have is a community-run project called Tranquility Press, and what this does, this is a group of people that have banded together to support a number of projects out there, including a number of fiction works, let's just say. And we did, as pick of the week last year, I think it was, or the year before, one of them was called the Wolf 359 Project. for folks who are aware, that was covering one of the two-part episodes in Next Gen. It was the one where Picard got assimilated, and this provides the backstory leading up to that and talks about what was not seen on the TV, and that is one of their supported projects, or rather official projects around it. There's also one that they're supporting about the Galaxy class, and a bunch of other interesting projects around the Klingon War and what happens to Borg after they become unassimilated, just to name a few. But they also have a suite of supported projects as well that detail the Earth-Romulan War, details the rebuilding after World War III, believe it or not, that happened. So there's a number of interesting things that they have leaned into here with this, and they're all PDF based. They're all supported. You could all load them into your e-readers if you wanted to. And the point of it is that when you look at it in terms of, somebody says they're creating like a fan fiction project, your mileage in terms of what you get from that can be, all the way best up to the point that it's ready to be published, or it can be all the way at the bottom where somebody just scrawled this on their note paper and published it online. And these projects are definitely at that high tier where they are ready to be published into book format if somebody wanted to for that. So if you were ever looking for a little bit of Star Trek lore around the edges, you might look to these projects and just see exactly where they land. And like I said, they're all PDFs, so they work in e-readers, and I'm sure you could have it read it out to you, Tanis, as well, if you wanted to. Granted, they're not ebooks and whatnot. So
awesome. I want to check out the Galaxy class stuff. That's always
I think that one is still in
stuff.
development. Let's see here, because I know I know the Wolf 359 one is the one that has the most progress made to this point, but I think the Galaxy class project one is still under construction in terms of being ready to go. But that one's definitely their newest one. So
cool.
But Tranquility.press, interesting. I didn't even know you could get the .press TLDs in this day and age. But that's the pick of the week. Well, folks, we've done it again. Another episode of RSBANDB update in the can. Combat, early game rebalancing, and of course DailyScape. All three of those are very important to the game's future, and I'm glad the three of you were here to discuss these. And I think we got everything off our chests that we needed to for this in terms of making the big stuff happen. So, if you guys want the episodes delivered automatically as we put them out, update.show/subscribe. We're on all the major podcast platforms out there: Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts, Spotify, and more, as well as YouTube at youtube.com/RSBANDB. And do give us a like and subscribe there. Greatly helps the channel out. But Bears, always good having you on and talking about combat. And thank you for the point in the right direction for Magic earlier this week.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I had a blast. I always love doing this. Right on.
Lemon, and I know we've been kicking this can down the road, but I think we finally got everything done in terms of dailies and balancing and combat. Thank you.
Yeah, and hopefully when, either we get the next beta or it goes live, there's not going to be that much indifference to cover.
Yeah, hopefully that we can just, set this forward and come up with the bars and the rotations and everything like that, and talk about the fun stuff with it. And Tanis, I know we said no controversial stuff this year for you, but you said what needed to be said, and as soon as I saw the topic this week and the way it was going, I knew we needed to have that perspective. So thank you.
It's like the mob. You pull me back in.
The Cambridge mob.
Cambridge mob, always around the corner.
That's right. They even got Osborne back at the company. Remember that was the conspiracy theory, is that the Cambridge mob was was his downfall. For people unaware who are just hearing this for the first time, whenever weird, unexplainable things would happen at Jagex, or things would, turn the wrong direction in the last minute, Tanis and I always had a thing where we'd say it was the Cambridge mob. And that was the whole thing about Menaphos too, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, they let him out of witness protection, and, he's back. And it's good.
Alrighty, folks. Well, with that being said, thank you, everybody, for being here. We'll be back next week for another episode of RSBANDB Update. See you then, everyone. Take care.
Yeah.
See ya.